Hillary Phillips is a woman who loves Jesus and invites others to see him through humor, honesty, and everyday life. So, Hillary, thank you for coming. And I know you have a story that will show the testing of your faith that you've had.
My mom and dad were always professing believers. My mom now, she definitely has just gone through such a healing journey, and we have a good relationship now. We've gone through a lot of healing. My father and I, we don't talk anymore, and that was by my choice. And I hope that he would come to a place of coming back to the Lord. Um, but as it stands now, I feel like I'm in a place where I have peace with just the family dynamics and just, okay, God, this is what it is right now.
Yeah.
We're in a good place, so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
let's not rock the boat. Like
You make it makes me think about the amount of people that aren't talking to somebody in their family. Like, you got prodigals. How can you tell them how you feel and how you came to terms with that?
it's been an ongoing thing. I think that my dynamics, my relationships with my parents have been very complicated, and I try not to make it so black and white of somebody's all bad or they're all good. Like, relationships are complicated, and I feel that as I've grown as a woman, but also in my walk with the Lord overall, I've learned to pay more attention to actions than intentions or words. I think that I had to come to a place where I realized that the way my father was showing up was not something that was aligned with where I believed God wanted me to be and the types of relationships he wanted me to have. And,
Mhm.
I do believe God can do whatever healing he's going to do, but I had to make a decision for myself of saying, I don't think this is a healthy choice to keep this door open.
Mhm.
It's keeping me bound mentally, emotionally, spiritually by trying to continue to keep this relationship going. And I think that for anybody watching who's either on the fence with that or they just have had to do that, one, you don't owe people an explanation because people outside of the dynamic can say things like, "Oh, but that's your so and so, that's your father, that's your mother, that's your sister, like whoever." Like, people outside don't always understand, so you don't owe people an explanation. Be prayerful, really discerning in your heart posture when you make those decisions, because sometimes it can be from a place of like so much pain that it's actually causing you more hurt if you're just cutting people off out of spite. I think it really be prayerful and ask the Lord for wisdom on how to navigate certain relationships in your life. They might not even be family members. It could be dear friends you've had for many years, and you realize, I don't know if I can continue to be friends with this person at this time because of how they're showing up. And allow yourself to grieve. Like, I've grieved that relationship and continue to do so. And I think that we have to know it's okay. Like, it's okay to have multiple things happening at once. Like, you can have faith, love the Lord, love people, want the best, while also having to set boundaries or feeling sad over a relationship dynamic that doesn't go the way you want. Like, these things can happen simultaneously. And I guess the biggest thing would just be allow yourself to be whatever it is, allow yourself to experience it, but do it with God.
And I think also of boundaries that so many people need to have. So that's why I asked you that question, because I know that there are people out there that probably are struggling with, I don't talk to this person anymore, or I don't see them. I don't want to feel like I'm hard-hearted. But there's boundaries in our life, and I think sometimes we don't even realize that we need to have them. All right, so speaking right into like the human trafficking part, there's a place where somebody, I think we were talking about somebody that was just kind of falling into being in human trafficking because they were just following someone along, right?
For viewers, I work in an organization that fights to end child trafficking. And right now I work with media and just getting the word out. But my first year and a half there, I worked in the home directly with survivors. And it was so eye-opening to just how much vulnerabilities can be exploited. We all have vulnerabilities, and some of those can be just feeling unseen, unvalued. Maybe we don't have the right resources financially, or there's just things that we are in need of that make us vulnerable. You name it, there's so many vulnerabilities. And people who traffic victims, which is using force, fraud, or coercion to make somebody do either sexual acts or labor against their will and for profit. A trafficker knows how to like take advantage of people's vulnerabilities. And so for kids, especially young kids, they're so vulnerable already. It's simply because they're young and they don't have a lot of framing of the world. And so when children are trafficked, it's just so heartbreaking. And there's some stories of firsthand that I want to be cautious in how much detail I give, but stories like young girls who grew up, mother, father, maybe one father left and or father left, mother was sick or mother passed away. They end up in the foster care system. The system or the home that they're in, they don't like, they run away. And when they run away, they have needs. They have like clothing needs, food. Oftentimes, that's when somebody will come in. It could be a woman or a man and present as somebody that wants to nurture and care and say, I can take care of you. And then this young, vulnerable kid ends up befriending, so they think, this person, or looking to them as a mother or father figure, or even a boyfriend or girlfriend. And then before you know it, this person who from the beginning planned to abuse them has now gotten them in their grip. And it's just very sad. There's countless stories I have of girls who they lost a spot, like a parent. Their parents died, or their parents struggled with addiction, or these young girls just went to a party and started trying drugs because they were interested, and then they get connected to somebody that's a trafficker in that way. There's so many stories. But bottom line, oftentimes it does not look like what we think of somebody just being kidnapped and held against their will. That does happen. But more often than not, it's grooming. It's like somebody coming in and presenting themselves as the God figure, as the loving person. They fill that gap. And so I think just overall, that even from my testimony, all these things, I realized, wow, I was so vulnerable. My story, if I had come across the wrong person at the right time, I could have been just like one of these girls, which is, I think, a lot of what connected me to the work of, even though I wasn't trafficked myself, I could see, I'd hear these stories and realize, oh my gosh, that could have been me. That really could have been me with all that I had dealt with. Because a lot of ending child trafficking and trafficking in general is about prevention. It's about helping people know even what it looks like, sounds like, what the signs of it are, and that they do have power to do something about it. Like you hear it, it's such a daunting topic, it's really heavy, and it can feel impossible to even address. But it starts in your own communities, it starts in your own home. If you're a parent, you are around even younger kids, nephews, nieces, just neighbors, there is a way that we can show up, and by having an awareness of what makes someone vulnerable, or just even signs that something is going wrong, I think just being tuned in to the kids in our lives can make a huge difference, because people who plan to traffic someone, they're consistent. They are so consistent, and they are relentless in their ability to fill those gaps. They recognize the gaps and they're willing to fill them, because in their minds, that person is a product and they want to have control, full control over that person. And they do it a lot of times through manipulation and love bombing and just building trust. And that's why when you're working with survivors, it takes a lot of time to help them come to a place of even realizing that this person harmed them. They can know it, but there's such a trauma bond there that it feels like this person actually cared for me when no one else did. There's layers and layers of healing that has to happen.
That's what I was thinking about as you were talking, is how long does this trauma, like how long does it take to unravel?
It varies, I think, based on what somebody's endured and what their support system looks like. Just so many factors come into play. But I'd say it's a lifelong healing journey,
Mm.
being restored, because you, especially if you're trafficked when you're really young, those are your formative years and your whole identity when it's wrapped around this idea that you are just a product. It's very hard to go from that headspace, that pure survival mode, to having a dream, wanting a future, feeling like you even know what you like, what your interests are. It's like there's a whole different reality that they've had to live in that
Mm.
most of us never even come close to understanding. And that's no shame on those of us that don't understand, but it's just this eye-opening reality that Jesus heals, and he's the one who gets it and who can get into people's hearts and really bring joy in times where it seems impossible. Who he's just good and great at reaching people who seem unreachable. And so, above all, it would be coming to know Jesus really is the anchor of bringing great healing. But even beyond that, it's having people show up and be examples of what healthy relationships look like. And there's just so many pieces. I could go on and on, but there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
There is a lot. Maybe that's a conversation for another day. You wrote this book, My Brain While Reading the Bible, which is a devotional, a 40-day devotional.
Yeah.
And I love that you chose to go to the biblical women and kind of unravel their stories.
And yeah, it's a 40-day devotional that blends humor and scriptures and a mix of personal stories and biblical stories. And it's really meant for the person that has kind of struggled to connect with the Bible, or a person who's been reading the Bible forever and just wants a fresh take on certain stories. And I think what even started the whole title idea and all of it was I realized that every time I read the Bible, I have so many visuals and things coming to my mind. And I naturally have a lot of silly questions I'll ask and just thinking, like, what in the world were they thinking? And I used to make videos kind of showcasing that, where I'd be reading the Bible and then do commentary, and people just were cracking up about it. And that's what led to writing this devotional book. But they're great entries, they're fun, and some are going to be a little more serious in tone and really reflective. Others are a lot more lighthearted, but still get to the root of the word. And I think that what I love about it is it feels kind of like the Christian journey, where some entries are like, wow, we're getting in there. And I get that's our life, our Christian life, where there's some times where we're really getting deep revelation, and other times when we're just having the time of our lives, frolicking. And I just wanted it to feel like a mix of that, and knowing that you can just come to God as you are and learn from the word.
It's called joy. That's what you're putting out there, right? So
Yeah.
now, social media, where can they find you? Where?
Okay, you can find me on any platform at It's Hillary Caitlyn, or you can also search Hills of Hope and you'll find me there.
Okay, wonderful. And what would you like to leave my audience with today?
I will leave you all with this understanding that life can get dark. We talked about human trafficking and testimonies. Life can get heavy, and sometimes we don't even know how to make sense of it. But God, if we always hold on to that but God thought in our mind, that, regardless of what things seem like, we serve a God who does amazing things. The same God who spoke creation into existence, who helped Moses part the seas, the same God who raised Jesus from the dead, like who saved us, like he's with us. And when you're with him, you're gonna end up a-okay, and you're going to find that if you're willing to just go through everything with Jesus, the ups, the downs, the in-betweens, and just allow him to do what he does best, you'll find yourself having such a sweet and personal relationship with God. And there will be times when you don't feel his presence, and there'll be times when you do, but it doesn't change the fact that he's there and he's with you. And he has so much ahead. And when you read that word, bring your questions to him. Share your humor with him. If things don't make sense and you're scratching your head, talk to God about it. It allows you to feel more free to be who God made you to be, not feel like you have to put on Christianity. Just put on the word, put on Christ. And if you're willing to just walk with Jesus, he'll do all the work he needs to do through you. So that's what I'll say. He loves you, and there's so much ahead for you.
Well, I hope you were blessed by this conversation with Hillary Phillips and reminded that God is still working in your life. Be sure to come back next time for more faith-filled conversations here on The Call.